Lena had worked at the Grandview Country Club for almost 3 years. In all that time, she had learned one important lesson. The best way to survive in a place like this was to become invisible. She was 34 years old. She had left her small village in the Philippines when she was 28, leaving behind her aging mother and everything she had ever known. She came to this country with nothing but hope and a willingness to work harder than anyone else. The country club was a place for rich people, the kind of people who wore watches that cost more than Lena would earn in 10 years. The kind of people who talked about their vacation homes the way normal people talked about the weather, and the kind of people who looked right through her as if she was made of glass. Lena did not mind being invisible. In fact, she preferred it. She had seen what happened to workers who tried to be friendly with the members. They were reported for being too familiar. They were let go for making guests uncomfortable. So Lena kept her head down, her voice soft, and her eyes on the floor. Every morning, she arrived at 5:30. She cleaned the marble floors in the main hall until they shined like mirrors. She scrubbed the bathrooms until there was not a single spot anywhere. She polished the brass handles on every door until she could see her own tired reflection looking back at her. The other cleaners liked to gossip during their short breaks. They would sit together in the small staff room and talk about the members. Who was getting divorced? Who was having an affair? Who had yelled at a waiter for bringing the wrong wine? But Lena never joined them. She would sit in the corner with her simple lunch and think about her mother back home. She would calculate in her head how much money she had sent this month and how much more she needed to send. Her mother was getting older. The medicines were expensive. Lena could not afford to lose this job, so she stayed invisible. And it worked. One Thursday afternoon in early September, Lena was assigned to clean the outdoor terrace near the garden. It was her favorite spot in the whole club. There was a big fountain in the center that made a peaceful sound. Flowers of every color grew along the stone pathways, and if she was lucky, she could feel the warm sun on her face for a few minutes while she worked. She was wiping down the iron tables when she noticed something strange. A little girl was sitting alone on a wooden bench near the fountain. She looked about 5 or 6 years old. She had long dark hair that fell past her shoulders, and she wore a pretty blue dress that probably cost more than Lena's monthly salary. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap, and she sat perfectly still. Lena did not think much of it at first. Rich children often waited around while their parents had lunch or played golf. But as the minutes passed, she began to notice something odd. The other children were running and playing on the grass nearby. They were laughing and shouting and chasing each other. A group of boys kicked a soccer ball back and forth. A few girls played some kind of clapping game. The sounds of their joy filled the warm afternoon air. But the little girl on the bench did not move. She did not look at the other children. She did not smile at their laughter. She just sat there, staring straight ahead at nothing. Then something happened that made Lena stop cleaning altogether. One of the boys kicked the soccer ball too hard. It rolled across the grass and came to rest right at the little girl's feet. It touched her shiny black shoes. But she did not react. She did not look down. She did not kick it back. She did not even seem to know it was there. One of the boys ran over to get the ball. He picked it up without saying a word to the girl and ran back to his friends. Lena watched as the children continued their game, and not a single one of them invited the girl to play. That was when Lena understood. The little girl could not see. Lena felt something twist in her chest. She watched the child sitting there all alone. Surrounded by laughter she could hear, but joy she could not share. The girl's face was calm, but there was something in the way she held herself that broke Lena's heart. It was the posture of someone who had learned to expect nothing. Lena knew that posture well. She saw it in the mirror every day. For the rest of that afternoon, Lena could not stop thinking about the girl. She finished her work on the terrace, but her eyes kept drifting back to that bench. A woman in a crisp uniform eventually came and took the girl's hand, leading her inside. A nanny, Lena guessed. The girl followed without a word. That night, in her tiny apartment, Lena could not sleep. She kept seeing the little girl's face. She kept thinking about how it must feel to be surrounded by so much and yet have so little. All that money, all those expensive things, and still the child sat alone. Lena told herself it was none of her business. The girl had nannies. She had a rich family. She probably had everything a child could ever want. What could a poor cleaner possibly offer her? But the image would not leave her mind. The next day, Lena found herself looking for the girl. She spotted her in the afternoon, sitting in the same spot near the fountain, the same bench, the same folded hands, the same empty stare. The day after that, the girl was there again. And the day after that, Lena began to notice things. The nannies who were supposed to watch the girl spent most of their time looking at their phones. They sat on chairs nearby, scrolling and typing, barely glancing at the child they were paid to care for. Sometimes they chatted with each other and laughed at things on their screens. The girl would turn her head slightly toward the sound of their laughter, and then turn back to face the fountain she could not see. The other children never approached her. Maybe they did not know how to play with someone who could not see. Maybe they were afraid. Maybe their parents had told them to keep their distance. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. The girl was always alone. One afternoon, Lena was trimming the hedges near the playground when she heard something that made her freeze. It was a small sound, almost lost in the noise of the other children playing. But Lena heard it clearly. The little girl was crying. It was not loud crying. It was the quiet kind. The kind that comes from someone who has learned that no one will come, even if they make noise. The girl's shoulders shook slightly, and tears ran down her cheeks as she clutched a small stuffed rabbit to her chest. Lena stood there with her gardening tools in her hands. Her heart was beating fast. She knew the rules. Staff were not allowed to talk to members or their children. It was one of the first things they told you when you started working here. Keep your distance. Do your job. Stay invisible. But looking at that crying child, Lena felt something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt brave. She put down her tools. She took a deep breath. And she began to walk toward the bench. She had no idea that this small decision would change everything, not just for the little girl, but for herself as well. Lena walked slowly toward the bench. Her legs felt heavy, like she was walking through water. Every step brought her closer to the crying child. And every step made her heart beat a little faster. She knew she was breaking the rules. She knew she could get fired for this. But something inside her would not let her turn back. Maybe it was because she remembered what it felt like to be alone. Maybe it was because she saw herself in that little girl. Whatever it was, it pushed her forward. When she was a few feet away, she stopped. She did not want to scare the child by coming too close too fast. So she made her footsteps a little louder on purpose. She wanted the girl to know someone was there. The child's head turned slightly toward the sound. Her tears were still wet on her cheeks, but she had stopped crying. She held her stuffed rabbit tighter against her chest. "Hello," Lena said softly. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. She cleared her throat and tried again. "Hello there. My name is Lena." The girl did not answer right away. Her eyes, though they could not see, seemed to search for the source of the voice. They were beautiful eyes, dark brown and wide, but there was something missing in them. Not sight exactly, but hope. "Who are you?" the girl finally asked. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "I work here," Lena said. "I clean the floors and the tables. I take care of the garden sometimes too." Oh, the girl's face showed a flicker of confusion. "Why are you talking to me?" The question hit Lena harder than she expected. Why was she talking to her? No one else did. The nannies did their jobs, but nothing more. The other children stayed away. Even the adults who passed by pretended she was not there. Why would a cleaning lady be any different? "Because," Lena said slowly, "I saw you sitting here, and I thought maybe you could use some company." The girl was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something that surprised Lena. She smiled. It was a small smile, barely there, but it was real. "What is your name?" Lena asked gently. "May," the girl said. "My name is May." Lena moved a little closer. "That is a beautiful name. Do you mind if I sit down, May?" May shook her head. Lena sat on the bench, leaving some space between them. For a while, Neither of them spoke. They just sat there together, listening to the sound of the fountain and the distant laughter of other children. "They never ask me to play," May said suddenly. Her voice was matter-of-fact, like she was talking about the weather. Lena felt a lump form in her throat. "I am sorry, May. That must be very lonely." May shrugged her small shoulders. "I am used to it. No child should be used to loneliness," Lena thought. No child should say those words like they mean nothing. "Do you come here every day?" Lena asked. May nodded. "My father works a lot. He is very busy. So the nannies bring me here while he has meetings. They say the fresh air is good for me." She paused. "But mostly they just sit and look at their phones. To buy. To buy. To buy. To buy. To buy." Lena glanced over at the two nannies. They were sitting on chairs near the clubhouse, exactly as May described. Their faces glowed from their phone screens. They had not even noticed that a stranger was now sitting with the child they were supposed to be watching. "What about your mother?" Lena asked. The moment the words left her mouth, she wished she could take them back. She saw May's face change. The small smile disappeared. "My mother is gone," May said quietly. "She got sick. 2 years ago. She went to sleep and did not wake up." Lena closed her eyes for a second. 2 years ago. This child had lost her mother. She would have been only 3 or 4 years old. Too young to understand. Too young to have to carry such a heavy thing. "I am so sorry, May," Lena said. "I should not have asked." "It is okay." May hugged her rabbit tighter. "My father does not like to talk about her. He gets sad. So I do not bring it up anymore." Lena did not know what to say. She thought about her own mother, far away in the Philippines. She thought about how much she missed her, even though she was still alive. She could not imagine losing her. She could not imagine being a little girl and facing that kind of darkness alone. "What is your rabbit's name?" Lena asked, trying to change the subject to something lighter. For the first time, May's face brightened a little. "Her name is Bun Bun. My mother gave her to me. She said Bun Bun would keep me safe when she could not be there." "Bun Bun looks like a very good friend," Lena said. "She is," May agreed. "She is my best friend. My only friend, actually." The words hung in the air between them. Lena made a decision in that moment. She did not think about the consequences. She did not think about the rules, or her job, or what might happen if someone saw them. She just spoke from her heart. "Well," Lena said, "maybe Bun Bun can have some company now. If you want, I can be your friend too." May turned her face toward Lena. Those sightless eyes seemed to look right through her, seeing something deeper than what normal eyes could see. "Really? You want to be my friend?" "Really," Lena said. "I would like that very much." A real smile spread across May's face. It was like watching the sun come out after a long rain. "But you are a grown-up. Grown-ups do not play with kids." "Who says?" Lena laughed softly. "I know lots of games. Good games. Games where seeing does not matter at all." May tilted her head with curiosity. "What kind of games?" "Well, there is one game I used to play when I was your age, back in my village. We would close our eyes and listen. Really listen. And we would try to guess what sounds we heard. The person who guessed the most sounds won." "I like listening," May said eagerly. "I am very good at listening. Better than people who can see, I think." "I believe that," Lena said. "Should we try it?" And so they played. Right there on the bench, they sat together and listened to the world around them. May heard things Lena did not even notice. The rustle of a squirrel climbing a tree, the splash of a fish in the fountain, the flap of a bird's wings overhead. "You are amazing at this," Lena said, genuinely impressed. May beamed. It was the happiest Lena had seen her. They talked more after that. May told Lena about her favorite foods and her favorite songs. She talked about how her mother used to read her stories every night. She talked about how her father used to laugh a lot before her mother got sick, but now he mostly just looked tired. Lena listened to every word. She did not check her phone. She did not look away. She gave May something the girl had not received in a very long time. Her full attention. When it was finally time for May to go inside for dinner, the little girl reached out and found Lena's hand. She held it tight. "Will you come back tomorrow?" May asked. There was hope in her voice now. Real hope. And fear, too. Fear that this was just a one-time thing. Fear that she would be alone again. Lena squeezed her hand gently. "I will be here, I promise." May smiled and let go. The nanny came and took her inside, without even glancing at Lena. As if she had not been there at all, but Lena did not mind being invisible anymore. Because to one little girl, she had finally been seen. And that, she realized, was worth more than any job in the world. Lena kept her promise. The next day, she found May sitting on the same bench by the fountain. The moment May heard Lena's footsteps, her face lit up like a candle in a dark room. "You came back," May said. There was wonder in her voice, like she had not truly believed it would happen. "I told you I would," Lena said, sitting down beside her. "A promise is a promise." That was the beginning of something beautiful. Every day after that, during her afternoon break, Lena would find her way to the garden. And every day, May would be waiting for her. Sometimes the little girl would be sitting still on the bench. Other times she would be standing near the fountain, her hands stretched out to feel the mist on her fingers. But she was always listening, always waiting for the sound of Lena's footsteps. They created their own little world together. A world where May was not the blind girl that everyone avoided. A world where Lena was not the invisible cleaner that nobody noticed. In their world, they were just two friends who happened to find each other. Lena taught May all the games she remembered from her childhood. They played clapping games with songs and rhythms. May learned fast. Her hands would find Lena's in the air, and soon they were clapping in perfect time together. Laughing when one of them missed a beat. They played guessing games too. Lena would pick something from the garden and place it in May's hands. A leaf. A flower petal. A small, smooth stone. May would feel it carefully with her fingers, smell it, and try to guess what it was. "This one is easy," May said one afternoon, holding a soft petal to her nose. "It is a rose." "A red one, I think." Lena raised her eyebrows in surprise. "How did you know it was red?" May smiled proudly. "Red roses smell different than pink ones. My mother taught me that." Lena felt her heart swell. This little girl was so smart. So full of life. All she needed was someone to see it. Their favorite game was what Lena called the texture walk. She would take May's hand and lead her slowly through the garden. May would touch the bark of trees, the smooth surface of stones, the soft petals of flowers. She would feel the different textures of leaves. She would smell the herbs in the small kitchen garden near the restaurant. "The lavender is over there," May announced one day, pointing in the right direction. "And the mint is right behind us. I can smell it." "You are getting so good at this," Lena said, squeezing her hand. "Soon you will know this garden better than anyone," May giggled. It was a sound that Lena had come to love. A sound that made all the risks worth it, because there were risks, big ones. Lena knew that what she was doing was against the rules. Staff were not allowed to interact with members or their families. If anyone reported her, she would lose her job immediately. She might even be sent back to the Philippines. All the money she had saved, all the sacrifices she had made, would mean nothing. She tried to be careful. She only spent time with May during her breaks. She made sure to stay in quiet corners of the garden where few people walked. She kept her voice low and always watched for anyone approaching. But the truth was, she was terrified. Every time she heard footsteps nearby, her stomach would drop. Every time someone walked past, she held her breath until they were gone. The worst part was that she could not tell anyone. She could not share her fear with the other cleaners. She could not ask for advice. If anyone knew what she was doing, the word would spread, and it would only be a matter of time before she was caught. So she carried her secret alone. And she kept coming back to May anyway, because May needed her. And if Lena was being honest, she needed May too. The little girl had brought something back into Lena's life that she had lost a long time ago. Joy. Real, simple joy. When May laughed, Lena felt lighter. When May learned something new and her face glowed with pride, Lena felt proud too. For the first time in years, Lena had something to look forward to each day. Weeks passed. The September air grew cooler. The leaves on the trees began to change color. Though May could not see them, Lena described them to her instead. The big tree near the fountain is turning orange, Lena said, like the color of a sunset, and some of the leaves are falling now. They float down slowly, like they are dancing. May listened with her eyes closed and a smile on her face. I can hear them, she said. When they land on the ground, it sounds like whispers. Lena looked at her and felt a lump rise in her throat. This child saw the world in ways that most people never would. One afternoon, Lena decided to teach May a song. It was an old folk song from her village in the Philippines. Her grandmother had taught it to her when she was about May's age. The melody was simple, and the words were about the moon and the stars, and the love of a mother for her child. Lena sang it softly, and May listened with wide eyes. When the song was over, May clapped her hands. That was beautiful, she said. Can you teach me? So Lena taught her, line by line, word by word. May repeated each phrase until she had it memorized. Her voice was small and sweet, and when she sang the song back to Lena, it brought tears to Lena's eyes. You sing like an angel, Lena said, wiping her cheek quickly so May would not hear her crying. But May seemed to sense it anyway. Are you sad? She asked. No, Lena said. I am happy. Sometimes people cry when they are happy too. May nodded like she understood. My mother used to cry happy tears when I would do something good. She would cry and hug me tight. Lena reached out and hugged May gently. The little girl leaned into her, and for a moment, they just held each other. Two lonely souls who had found comfort in the most unexpected place. It was during one of these afternoons that everything changed. Lena was teaching May another verse of the song. They were sitting on their usual bench, hidden behind a row of tall hedges. Lena thought they were alone. She thought no one could see them. She was wrong. In the middle of the song, May suddenly stopped singing. Her head turned sharply to the side. Her body went stiff. What is it? Lena asked, confused. Someone is coming, May whispered. I hear footsteps, heavy ones. Lena's heart dropped. She turned around slowly, hoping it was just another guest passing by. Hoping it was no one important, but it was not just anyone. Standing a few feet away, watching them with an unreadable expression, was a tall man in an expensive suit. His face was serious and hard. His eyes were fixed on Lena with an intensity that made her blood run cold. Lena knew who he was. Everyone at the club knew who he was. His face was on the wall in the main hall, listed among the biggest donors. His name was spoken in whispers by the staff, always with respect and a little fear. He was one of the most powerful men in the city. A real estate giant who had built an empire from nothing. A man who could make or break anyone with a single phone call. And he was May's father. Lena's legs felt weak. Her mouth went dry. She wanted to speak, to explain, to apologize. But no words came out. The man took a step closer. His eyes moved from Lena to his daughter and back again. And when he finally spoke, his voice was calm and cold. What exactly is going on here? Lena could not breathe. Her chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a rope around it and was pulling it tighter with every second. She stared at the man standing before her, and all she could think was that her life was about to fall apart. He was tall, much taller than she had imagined. His suit was perfectly pressed, without a single wrinkle. His shoes were polished so well, they reflected the afternoon sun. Everything about him screamed power and control. This was a man who was used to getting what he wanted. A man who did not tolerate mistakes. And Lena had made a very big mistake. I asked you a question, he said. His voice was not loud, but it carried a weight that made Lena flinch. What is going on here? Lena opened her mouth to speak, but the words got stuck in her throat. She felt like a small animal caught in headlights, frozen and helpless. All her fears, all the worries she had carried for weeks, were suddenly coming true. "Sir, I can explain," she finally managed to say. Her voice was shaking. I did not mean to. Please. I am sorry. She could not form a complete sentence. Her mind was racing with images of what would happen next. She would be fired. She would be thrown out of the club. She might even be arrested. What if he pressed charges? What if he said she was trying to kidnap his daughter? Rich people had lawyers. They could make anything happen. The man took another step forward. His eyes were dark and sharp, studying Lena like she was something he was trying to figure out. There was no warmth in his gaze. Only suspicion and cold authority. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What is your name? What department do you work in?" Lena's hands were trembling now. "My name is Lena, sir. I am a cleaner. I work in maintenance. I clean the terrace and the garden area. I have been here for 3 years. I never caused any trouble, I swear. You just what?" His voice cut through her words like a knife. "You just thought you could approach my daughter without permission? Do you have any idea what this looks like?" "Don't out." Tears started forming in Lena's eyes. She blinked hard, trying to hold them back, but one escaped and rolled down her cheek. This was it. This was the end of everything she had worked so hard for. "Please, sir," she whispered. "I will leave right now. I will never come back. Just please, do not call the police. I did not mean any harm. I only wanted to." "Daddy, stop." The small voice cut through the tension like a ray of light through storm clouds. Both Lena and the man turned to look at May. The little girl had stood up from the bench. Her hands were balled into small fists at her sides. Her face, usually so calm and gentle, was now fierce with determination. "May, stay out of this," her father said. His voice softened just a little when he spoke to her, but it was still firm. "This is a matter for adults." "No," May said. She took a step forward, reaching out until she found Lena's hand. She grabbed it tight and held on like she was afraid someone would pull them apart. "I will not stay out of this. Lena is my friend. She is my only friend. And you cannot send her away." The man's expression flickered. For just a moment, something crossed his face. Surprise. Maybe. Or confusion. He looked at his daughter's hand, holding onto the cleaner's hand, and his jaw tightened. "May, you do not understand," he said. "This woman is a stranger. She had no right to. She is not a stranger." May's voice was louder now, stronger than Lena had ever heard it. "She has been my friend for weeks. She plays games with me. She teaches me songs. She walks with me in the garden and tells me what the flowers look like. She is the only person who talks to me like I am normal. Like I am not broken." The last word hung in the air. Broken. Lena saw the man's face change when he heard it. Something cracked in his expression, like a wall that had been standing for too long, finally showing its first signs of weakness. "May," he said quietly. "Then why does everyone treat me like I am?" May's voice trembled now, and tears were streaming down her face. "The nannies just sit on their phones. They never play with me. The other kids run away because they do not know what to do with me. And you are always working. You are always busy. You never have time for me anymore." Lena wanted to disappear. She felt like she was witnessing something private, something painful that was not meant for her eyes. But May was still holding her hand, gripping it like a lifeline. So she stayed. The man stood very still. His face had changed completely now. The coldness was gone. In its place was something raw and exposed. He looked at his daughter. Really looked at her. Like he was seeing her clearly for the first time in a very long while. "May," he said again, his voice barely above a whisper. "I did not know you felt this way." "Because you never asked," May said. The words were not angry. They were just sad. Deeply, painfully sad. After Mama died, you stopped asking. You stopped singing with me. You stopped reading me stories. You just went away. Even when you were home, you were not really there. Lena watched as the powerful man seemed to shrink before her eyes. His shoulders dropped. His hands, which had been stiff at his sides, now hung loosely like he did not know what to do with them. He looked lost. He looked broken too. I thought I was protecting you, he said slowly. I thought, if I worked hard enough, if I gave you the best nannies, and the best doctors, and the best everything, I thought that would be enough. I thought that would make up for. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Lena understood. He thought he could fill the hole left by his wife's death with money and things. He thought he could protect his daughter from pain by keeping his distance. But all he had done was leave her alone. Lena does not give me things, May said softly. She gives me her time. She listens to me. She makes me feel like I matter. The man looked at Lena then. Really looked at her. And this time, there was no suspicion in his eyes. There was something else. Something that looked almost like gratitude. Is this true? He asked. You have been spending time with my daughter? Lena nodded slowly. Yes, sir. I know I broke the rules. I know I should not have. But she was sitting here alone every day. And she looked so sad. I could not just walk away. I am sorry. I will accept whatever punishment you decide. The man was quiet for a long moment. Lena braced herself for the worst. But instead of anger, she saw his eyes grow wet. This powerful, intimidating man was fighting back tears. You did what I could not, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You saw my daughter when I was too blind to see her myself. He looked at May, then back at Lena. And slowly, the hardness in his face melted away completely. I am not going to punish you, he said. I owe you an apology. And more than that, I owe you my thanks. Lena blinked in disbelief. She had expected to be fired. She had expected to be humiliated. She had not expected this. May let out a small gasp of relief and threw her arms around Lena's waist. Lena hugged her back, still too shocked to fully understand what was happening. The man watched them embrace, and something in his expression shifted. It was like watching ice begin to thaw after a long, cold winter. We need to talk, he said to Lena. But not here. Not like this. He paused, and for the first time, a small, tired smile appeared on his face. I think there is a lot I need to learn. And maybe you are the one who can teach me. 3 days passed after that afternoon in the garden. 3 days of waiting and wondering and not knowing what would happen next. Lena went to work each morning with her heart in her throat. Every time she saw a manager walking toward her, she expected to be called into the office. Every time someone looked at her for too long, she thought this was the moment she would be let go. But nothing happened. No one said anything. It was like the whole incident had never occurred. She did not see May during those 3 days. She did not know if the little girl was still coming to the club or if her father had decided to keep her away. Lena missed her terribly. She missed their games, their songs, their walks through the garden. She missed the sound of May's laughter. But more than anything, she was worried. She hoped May was okay. She hoped the conversation with her father had not caused more problems. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. Lena was mopping the floor in the main hallway when one of the senior managers approached her. He was a stern man who rarely spoke to the cleaning staff. When he stopped in front of her, Lena felt her stomach drop. You are Lena, correct? He asked. She nodded, unable to speak. Come with me, he said. Someone wants to see you in the private meeting room. Bone. Lena's hands went cold. This was it. She was going to be fired in a fancy room instead of a regular office. Maybe they wanted to make an example of her. Maybe they wanted to scare the other workers into following the rules. She followed the manager down a long corridor she had never walked before. The floors here were even shinier. The paintings on the walls looked more expensive. Everything about this part of the club screamed wealth and importance. The manager stopped in front of a large wooden door. He knocked twice, then opened it and gestured for Lena to enter. She stepped inside on shaking legs. The room was beautiful. There was a long table made of dark wood, surrounded by leather chairs. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, and sitting at the head of the table was May's father. He looked different today. He was still wearing a suit, but his face was softer somehow. The hard lines around his eyes had eased. He did not look like the cold, intimidating man she had met in the garden. He looked tired, yes, but also peaceful. "Please," he said, gesturing to a chair near him. "Sit down." Lena sat. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap. She waited for the bad news, but instead of speaking right away, the man took a deep breath. He looked at her for a long moment, like he was choosing his words carefully. "I owe you an apology," he finally said, "for how I spoke to you in the garden. I was scared. When I saw a stranger with my daughter, my first instinct was to protect her, but I realize now that you were not a threat, you were a gift." Lena blinked. She had not expected this. "After our conversation that day, I went home and I talked to my daughter," he continued. "Really talked to her. For the first time in 2 years, I sat with her, and I listened. She told me everything. About the games you played, about the songs you taught her, about how you described the garden to her so she could see it in her mind." His voice grew thick with emotion. "She told me that you made her feel like she was not alone anymore. Do you know how long it has been since my daughter felt that way? Do you know how much I have failed her?" Lena shook her head slowly. "Sir, you did not fail her. You were grieving. You lost your wife. That is not something anyone can just get over. But I used my grief as an excuse," he said. "I buried myself in work because it was easier than facing the pain. I hired people to take care of May because I did not know how to take care of her myself. I thought I was doing the right thing, but all I did was abandon her when she needed me most." He paused and wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. This powerful man, this giant of the business world, was crying in front of a cleaning lady. And he did not seem ashamed of it. "You showed me what my daughter really needs," he said. "Not money, not fancy things, just time, attention. Someone who sees her for who she is. You gave her what I could not, and I can never thank you enough for that." Lena felt tears running down her own cheeks now. "I just did what anyone would do," she whispered. "No," he said firmly. "That is not true. Most people walked past her every day. They saw a blind girl sitting alone, and they kept walking. But you stopped. You sat down. You cared. That is not ordinary. That is extraordinary." He leaned forward in his chair. "I have a proposal for you, Lena. I have thought about this for the past 3 days, and I believe it is the right thing to do." Lena held her breath. "I want to offer you a job," he said. "Not as a cleaner. As May's companion. I want you to be with her every day. To play with her. Teach her. Help her experience the world the way you have been doing. You would have a full salary, much more than what you earn now. You would have health benefits and paid vacation. And you would live in the guest house on our property. So you would always be close." Lena's mouth fell open. She could not believe what she was hearing. "But that is not all," he continued. "I know you send money to your mother in the Philippines every month. I know she is getting older and needs care. So I am also offering to sponsor her visa. I will bring her here so she can live with you. She can stay in the guest house too. You will never have to be apart from her again." The tears were flowing freely now. Lena could not stop them. She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. It was too much. It was more than she had ever dared to dream. "Why?" she managed to ask through her tears. "Why would you do all this for me?" Then, the man smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. "Because you saved my daughter. And in doing so, you saved me too. You reminded me what really matters in life. That is worth more than any amount of money." The door to the meeting room opened, and May walked in. She was holding the hand of one of the staff members, But the moment she heard Lena crying, she let go and moved toward the sound. "Lena?" she called out. "Are you okay? Why are you crying?" Lena laughed through her tears and opened her arms. May found her way into them and hugged her tight. "I am crying because I am happy," Lena said, holding the little girl close. "So very happy." "Does this mean you are staying?" May asked, her voice full of hope. Lena looked at May's father. He nodded, his eyes still wet. "Yes," Lena said, her voice breaking with joy. May let out a squeal of delight and hugged Lena even tighter. And in that moment, in that beautiful room filled with sunlight, 3 broken people began to heal together. Lena had come to this country alone, with nothing but hope. She had spent years being invisible, unnoticed, forgotten, but by simply being kind, by simply stopping to care for a lonely child, she had found something she never expected. She had found a family, and sometimes that is how the most beautiful stories begin. Not with grand gestures or dramatic events, but with a simple act of kindness that changes everything.